Hello and welcome to This Week in Sports, and it is finally a very special edition of This Week in Sports because it is our 1 year anniversary.
Indeed it is. 50 weeks. We took 2 weeks off during the whole 52 weeks we could have been recording. Not too terrible, actually.
Yeah, pretty consistent for first timers.
Indeed.
So if you're new to the program, welcome to an episode where we have ruined our usual intro. I am your hockey nerd, Nick. With me is my co-host with the most, Zach.
Howdy, howdy.
And we are here once again to take you through what has happened in this last week of sports action. Mostly focused on our Colorado teams, but we're following our big leagues despite no longer being in action in the NBA and NHL.
We have no skin in the game. We are pure spectators, and no stress means we just get to enjoy the love of the sport.
And the schedule has really softened up now. It's just like one game per night. Each team gets its own day.
Yeah, we've gone from a 2-hour podcast down to probably our usual 1 hour and 30-ish minute time frame, or less, depending on how quickly we do things.
I was gonna say we'll see. We always find some fat to chew on along the way. So as per usual, we will begin with last week's news that we have to cover since recording time. And my only note from last Sunday, we did not yet have the final on our Game 7 out of the East Coast there with Florida and Toronto.
Not officially.
Not officially, but all the signs were pointing in the wrong direction. It was 3-0 when we left the Oilers, or not the Oilers, the Leafs against the Panthers. The Panthers with the lead after 3 very quick goals in the second period. The Leafs did get one back at the beginning of the third.
Ooh, joy.
And then gave up 3 more the rest of the period.
Yeah, can't do that.
6-1, an absolute whooping. No real life in this series from Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner. Nylander scored in like game 1, and that was about it.
It's funny. There was a video out there of all the Toronto fans gathered. I think it was like outside the arena or somewhere.
They always have watch parties out in like the big public areas.
Don't know why they choose to do that, but it was funny.
Oh, it's for the people who couldn't afford the tickets, and you get the big crowds.
Sure. But it was funny seeing all their fans just leave in disgust. There was one dude who they had like a little barricade. He ripped apart the barricade and just walked out on his way. Poor Leafs fan.
That's why you will never find me at one of those live, like, recorded watch party things where it's just too volatile, and you don't know what. If things go terribly, I cannot be held responsible, and I do not need that on video.
Nope, he did what he did. He took his ball.
I mean,
and went home.
That was pretty mild since it is Canadians we're discussing. Americans would not be behaving quite so well.
No, you only destroy your town if you win.
But yes, that was the deciding game for that round 2 series. The Panthers move on to the Eastern Conference Finals once again, and it looks almost certain that Toronto is going to be looking at some major shakeups to their lineup now. Mitch Marner already going to be a pending restricted free agent, and they are now on year 7 of this core not producing any results. In fact, the hockey world decided to recirculate the 2018 Hockey News cover that features Nylander, Marner, and Matthews as like, watch out, here's the next generation. And it's like, nope, actually. I mean, they were the next generation, but they have not produced any results yet. So probably going to, I mean, we'll see. The expectation is there's going to be a shakeup, but they might just be lazy.
They've gotten to the dance every single time. They haven't been crowned the king quite yet.
I saw one of the, I don't remember exactly who on the panel on like the TNT or the ESPN broadcast said, put it very succinctly, that they've created the perfect monstrosity of a hockey team that's good enough to get through the regular season and make it to the playoffs, and bad enough that they can never do anything when they get there. And at the end of the day, if you can't get through the dance, it doesn't make sense to get there. It's not really worth it to get there with you're just going to lose every single time.
Yeah, no argument for me on that side.
But that was all I had from last week, unless you had anything else.
Nope, I didn't have anything.
Then our Monday news, the Rockies were busy all week this week. A 4-game stand with the Phillies and a 3-game weekend set with the Yankees.
Love to hear it.
Two very passionate fan bases with a lot to cheer about these days, the Phillies and the Yanks. I mean, the Phillies are still enjoying that Bryce Harper action. They've been competitive.
Yeah,
They have a World Series in the last 5 years, I want to
because
say.
Bryce Harper has one.
Yeah.
He's their one.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, game 1 of the Phillies at Colorado series is a 9-3 loss. Surprise, surprise. Ezekiel Tovar, we have not mentioned very much yet on the series because he has been injured and has just recently come back from his injured reserve stint.
Our Gold Glover, one of our staple players.
I mean, now that I've been paying attention to the team more closely, far and away the best player on the team, like from the ceiling perspective.
Over who's the center fielder?
Doyle has had a mean regression this year. Where
Oof.
I mean, he's been fighting some injuries as well. He hasn't been playing every single day, but no, the new hotness out in center field in the National League is the Cubs center fielder Pete Crow Armstrong, PCA.
You'll see him on the Rockies in about 20 years.
Maybe. Yeah, after he's won like 4 World Series for the Cubs, because he's the new phenom. He's the new 5-tool star. He is now kind of inarguably the best center fielder in the game. Huge range, huge speed, and this year he found his pop. So home run power too.
Yeah, when he loses the speed and has no pop, he will become a Rocky.
It sounds about right. Anyway, back to the game at hand. Ezekiel Tovar bringing the hottest bat we've seen in a long time. He's hitting about 500 since coming off the list. Gives us a 2-0 lead in the first with solo homered in the bottom of the first, and then had an RBI single in the bottom of the third, both off of Tovar's bat. This was a Kyle Freeland start. He went 5 2/3 of 1-run ball to try and get his first win.
That's actually really good for what he's done all season long.
Huge. A really solid performance from Kyle Freeland. Just can't quite finish out the 6th on his own. And the bullpen comes in, gets through the 6th, gets through the 7th, the bottom of the 8th, it all falls apart. 2-run home run, and then a bases loaded double to follow that up. So that made it 7-3 at that point, and then Schwarber and Sosa added on some insurance solo homers in the 9th, and that's how you got to 9-3.
Poor guy.
Yeah, Freeland has not had a win since September of last year, and
Jeeb.
13 starts, and he is, I think, in the top 5, at least top 10, if not top 5, in worst run support in that time frame. That means
what is run for support for us? Not MLB or baseball statistic, especially advanced statistics.
So run support is just a measurement of how many runs the offense for a pitcher scores. So how many runs his team is scoring for him. So in this instance where like a team that normally gives you 3 or 4 run support would have won this game for Kyle Freeland with his 1 run allowed. But because of it being the Rockies, his run support is like 1 point something.
Jeez.
If a full 1. It's not good.
I think we got a full 1 and some change. Actually, we might have $1 and some nickels lying around.
But yeah, get ready for a little more of the same because it's an ugly series against these Phillies. What else happened on Monday?
I'm still waiting to see if we've seen the peak Rockies, which I am kind of thinking that is true. But also on Monday, we like I said, we are in full WNBA action. The Seattle Storm versus Dallas. Dallas is big to watch right now because Paige Beckers is over there trying to restructure her team, and Seattle is kind of newly rebuilt. They made a lot of teams made a lot of transactions in the offseason.
Kind of a whole deck shuffle across the WNBA.
For a few different teams, yeah. Brand new starting lineups. Seattle kept a couple of their starish players.
The Aces and Liberty are the most intact, but even they saw a few moves.
They did, and we will talk about them a little bit later. In this one, though, Seattle did beat up on Dallas 79-71. This game was actually really, really good watch for a Monday night sports. If you are cough a Rockies fan and need something else to watch, highly suggest the WNBA. This one is very much back and forth. Paige was kind of matching up with whatever Seattle had for their best, whether it be Skylar Diggins or another number of different names on their roster. But overall, great game. Pretty much another game that comes down to the last 2 minutes.
Well, gotta love those. Very exciting stuff. Where can people be tuning to the WNBA? Are they on a TV deal or are they just streaming online somewhere?
So they have a couple different TV deals. Usually you can catch them during the week on Ion Television. weird network. Don't ask me why it's
Sure.
over there, but they are paying for that. And sometimes you will see them pop up on NBA TV as well. And occasionally, depending on what the marquee games are, you'll see them sprinkled in through the ABCs, NBCs, and ESPNs as well. So you'll see a lot of Caitlin Clark over there usually.
I do know that like how many games is the WNBA? It's like 62 or something.
For the season?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I believe 60 of the Fever games are planned to be a broadcast.
Yeah, I think they're on like ESPN2 or something like that, like a big primetime network.
Yeah, and for good reason. That team has gotten very good very quickly.
Yes. We will hear a lot about them as we go through this week, actually, in fact. But before we get there, let's continue the role of sadness, or we can talk about the sport we have no skin in anymore, hockey. Mostly that's for you.
Yeah, let's cover the Rockies first because it's not, a quick rundown. It's a Senzatella start.
Oh my gosh. There's no winning, really. I'm curious who our most winning pitcher is going to be at the end of this season. It's going to be a god-awful.
Right now, it's slated to be Ryan Feltner. Rockies legend, Ryan Feltner.
Yep.
Who we've all heard of before this year.
I know him, love him.
Yeah, no, we have one of the worst starting 5 ERAs. It's like a 7-something, largely thanks to Senza and Marquez, although Freeland's in the high 5s. And
Freeland's not doing himself any favors.
And then we've got the babies who have to keep plugging in the bottom of our rotation who just keep getting shelled.
It's kind of, I think we're waiting. Someone on the Rockies has watched, what's the movie where the kid gets the super bionic arm and ends
Rookie of the year.
Yeah, we're waiting for one of those guys to show up and be like, here's a child. Nope, he doesn't got it. What about this one? Nope.
That might be the case. What's his name? Agnos, our closer, who has a very stylish little twirled mustache, is very much a babyface rookie closer who kind of fits that mold.
Yeah, but we only see him.
We get to see him one time later this week. I won't spoil when.
Oh boy!
If you haven't followed the Rockies this week, you're in for a fun little surprise at the end of the week here.
All right, let's talk about this one.
But for this one on Tuesday night, it's a 7-4 loss to those Philadelphia Phillies. The Phillies get off to a 3-0 lead in the top of the first from Bryce Harper. He knocked in 2 on an RBI double and then got himself over to third and scampered home on a sac fly. That was basically that was all of Senzatella's doing. After about 4 innings of that, it became the bullpen's problem, and they just never really stopped the bleeding.
You got to get to 6 at least as a starter.
That would be ideal, yes. It has not been a regular feature.
Bottom of 5 minimum.
You'd think, right? But no, and we discussed this earlier this week outside of the podcast about how much of the Rockies' salary is tied up in people who are not necessarily contributing to the success of the team.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. There was a little late 9th inning rally because I think this was a 7-2 game heading into the 9th, but not quite enough, and that put our record for the year at 8-40. Meaning we are now in competition with teams from the 1800s for worst record in baseball history.
We are setting history.
We are now by far the worst modern team, and our current winning percentage of 175 would put us on pace to win 28 games, a blowing away of the Red Sox record losing year last year.
White Sox?
That one.
Yeah, too many Sox around. If you want to be real sad, I think we roughly calculated probably just under $100 million is hurting us.
Mm-hmm.
Our full salary cap's 189.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Good usage of that money.
If we wanted to burn money, I am more than happy to go be a Colorado Rocky.
Yeah, right. Sign me up too. I can handle throwing my slow ball out there.
I'd do it for $2 million.
Yeah, we'll make it a sweet deal, Monfort. Go ahead and just sign us up right now, and we'll come out of the bullpen.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about him as we.
That would be actually a pretty good if the baseball players started doing. We could start doing the podcast from the bullpen, and then when they call us, be like, "All right, hold up, guys, I gotta go pitch now."
We'll keep the mic on still.
Yeah, there you go. That'll be fun.
Love it. Content.
Yeah, if you can't be good, be quality content.
Hey, that's. I'm all for it.
Tell us about the basketball first, and then we'll get into the hockey that I care less about.
We got double basketball action. We have round 3 starting. Game 1, of course, after a big battle, OKC gets to play again. How lovely the NBA schedule is. In this one, though, they do win this one 88 to 114. Oddly enough, though, the injury that does happen on the floor is not theirs, but Anthony Edward does go down, and he does come back eventually, but he does not. He struggles a little bit in efficiency, which is why this one ends up in this one. But another injury that we have seen on the court, just kind of rolled his ankle or whatever. They did have a week off, oddly enough, not on the side we thought it was going to be, but it did happen. So
A little bit more evidence for the momentum is more important than rest argument.
I don't know. That one I can't. You're in one camp or the other. Is
It really does depend on which team you want to take as your data point.
yeah. But following them up, probably a little bit earlier actually, we have Atlanta heading over to Indiana, who we've talked a little bit about. That's going to be Caitlin Clark's team. This one ends in a nail biter, 91 to 90, going to Atlanta's way. Indy falls here just short. Unfortunately, a little sad, especially for the team that they've put together around Caitlin. And then we'll head over to Vegas, where they take on Connecticut. This one's a little bit of a smacking. 87 to 62 is how this one ends. Vegas been a little bit on kind of. They are very much on a roller coaster season, as we'll talk and see even through this week. We'll go from this 87 to 62 to who knows. We'll see. Their version of Nikola Jokic in the WNBA, Aja Wilson, is leading her team in pretty much every statistical categories. Points, rebounds, steals, assists, you name it, she has it.
Yeah, coming off the MVP season and still just churning right along.
Yep. Very much so right now, heavily relying on her, and hopefully she gets a little bit more help as the season goes on and people start to turn up a little bit.
We are seeing, I feel like, here in the early going of the W season, that there are definitely a few teams who maybe lost more talent than they anticipated in this big reshuffle, or maybe were planning on it being a little bit more of a rebuild phase.
Yeah, don't. The Vegas one's a little sad because we'll see as they kind of go through the week. They do not feel kind of like the same powerhouse that they once were. The Liberty, however, seem to be the team to beat. They are very much ironclad right now, at least up to the beginning points here. And again, first couple weeks of the season, so we'll really start to see real basketball played here in the next couple weeks as players start to warm up. Some data points for our interest is at least in the first weekend of basketball, I think out of all the points scored in the WNBA, I think it was like 35 or something. It might have been higher percent was accounted for from unrivaled players alone.
Wow. That's a pretty good chunk for what was a pretty small percentage of the league participating in.
Yeah.
But it has been a lot of those names that we've like Skylar Diggins-Smith, I'm sure accounts for a fair part of that. Nafisa,
Stewie,
yeah, Stewie,
Sabrina.
Yeah, all big names, all big contributors to their teams, and I'm sure, I expect to be hearing, oh geez, who was the MVP at the end of the finals there?
Was that Gray? Kelsey Gray?
Yes.
Yep, she's on Vegas. She's turning. She's probably one of the bigger data points Vegas has is her and Aja kind of running things right now.
Yeah, that's a deadly combo. Yeah, very fun to see and track that. And I think it'll be very interesting to watch. Like, as you said, we'll get the more games we get into the season. They're also not going to be stopping down for an Olympics break this year. So kind of momentum can be a little bit more continuous.
That'll be nice. That'll be a cool little bridge all the way through. The Olympics were cool and all, but definitely not great for a WNBA season for sure.
It was a rocky sailing thing, very similar to the international break we saw in PWHL.
One thing I am interested in, maybe we'll talk a little bit more as the season goes on, is how much, because when you have the Olympics sort of in the middle, it kind of brings a big old lull. Right now, this will be the first season we have Caitlin Clark still in there, Angel Reese, Paige Beckers, a lot of these other big names that we will see how that viewership turns out, because I would figure after you do the Olympics or whatever, it kind of, you're always going to see that little dip.
And especially once the playoffs finish up in the men's leagues, there will be a lull of folks who are similar to some people on this podcast, maybe not as interested in following baseball all summer.
Nope.
I think that'll be a great sort of programming potential to be like the premier summer thing to watch instead of the Olympics this year.
I'm excited. I'm ready for it. Speaking of things I'm ready for, let's talk about the hockey news that we so much love.
Absolutely. Well, we'll start with the lower stakes game first. Similar to the OKC series, coming fresh off of Game 7 on Sunday, the Florida Panthers are right back at it for Game 1 of Round 3. Having to go to Carolina, the Hurricanes managed to secure home ice advantage. Did not matter in this one. Florida came to play 5-2, a little bit of a stomping. The Canes gave up which would probably consider a couple of soft goals to start the game, which is less than ideal to set the tone for a playoff series. And then we're able to get one goal back to before the end of the first, but they basically were never able to dig in against this Florida team because, as much as we've talked about Carolina wanting to play sort of defense first, that whole system falls apart when you lose your lead and are trying to play from behind.
One of these teams has been sitting for a while.
This is sitting for a little bit, and I mean, Florida is just kind of cranking on all cylinders right now.
Yeah, they just got out of a little bit of a dogfight, so I feel like they are for sure a little bit more ready, which is why very similar to the OKC, the team that comes off probably one of the toughest matchups or the toughest matchup they've had to face thus far. Much more ready to go than the team that's been just chilling for a couple days.
Yeah, there were little stretches in this one where Carolina was able to like kind of clamp things down, but too little, too late. Especially the power play has been highly effective so far for Florida. So a very quick 1-0 lead in that series for the Panthers, who look primed and ready to go back to the Stanley Cup final. Our other action was our first game of the finals for the PWHL, Minnesota at Ottawa. And this is maybe a little surprised because it's the 3 and 4 seed, the 1 and 2 having lost in the previous round, and two teams that came in at the very end of kind of playoff qualification have gone on to make it to the finals here. And it has been a talk about evenly matched. Every game of this series so far has gone to overtime, and they have all ended in a score of 2-1.
I was interested to see how this would go because, like we talked about last week, one of these teams has played in a very high scoring affair, and the other one was much more a defensive and mental grind to whoever gets basically the last goal of the game to win, much like a recess sort of style of play. But 1-2, that's some pretty good hockey there. I assume if you're a big fan of the hockey.
This has been very entertaining for hockey viewing. It has been an entirely defensive first affair. I mean, multiple layers of shot blocking. It's been wild to see how difficult it is just to generate offense at all. And then on top of that, we've seen 3 so far of the hottest goalies in the league. Minnesota in this game does start with Nicole Hensley in the net, our Lakewood local girl, who was their starting goalie for the championship last year, but has kind of taken a bit of an A and B kind of carousel with Maddie Rooney in that Minnesota net this season so far. But Hensley has been the hot hand in the playoffs, so we're continuing to ride with her against the hottest rookie in the league right now, Gwyneth Phillips. Playing out of her mind, and this was an epic goalie duel, but it was Rebecca Leslie who would start the scoring midway through the second. The Frost got a goal in the third period to tie and force overtime before Emily Clark walks in and gets what some might call a bit of a soft goal on the blocker side of Hensley to win it 3 minutes into overtime and give the Charge a 1-0 lead in that series, 2-1.
Canada might get a trophy.
That was looking good there. Big momentum, especially with Ottawa ending up with the home ice advantage in this one. But that being said, all of Minnesota's playoff series in their history so far, they have lost game 1 and gone on to win the series in 5. So we'll see how that pattern plays out.
Love to see it.
That is all of the Tuesday action, I believe. Moving right through the week here to Wednesday, Some sad news to start the morning out of the NFL. Pretty shocking, I think, across the league, considering we didn't know about any major like health concerns. But Colts owner Jim Irsay passed away at age 65.
He did. He's been a huge advocate for a lot of the players initiatives in the league. He's a big players kind of guy, which is why a lot of the former players really like to go talk to him. He's just kind of he was a super good cool dude in general.
I was not familiar with his resume of his path to ownership, where he became the GM of the team at like 27.
Yeah, he has a very cool story just overall, which is I think why so many people liked and related to him. He was very personable overall, which is you don't get a lot from some of the owners.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing but glowing words and kind things to say about the man, not only for his contributions to the football game in general, but more specifically to how much of the team and franchise he built into Indianapolis, like at its core. Probably a little bit of sour taste in the mouth on the Peyton Manning affair and that breakup, but certainly the fact that they had Peyton and had the Super Bowl that he brought was all thanks to Jim. So yeah, a big loss for the community. Although I have seen a lot of talk that the Ursay daughters are a little bit more well prepared to handle the takeover of the franchise.
Yeah, he's been preparing them basically almost their whole lives. They've only worked inside the organization, and for the past couple years, he has sort of been prepping them to take over the ownership. In light of, I think he's known that he's had some health concerns, not to the public. The public had no idea, but I think he and his family knew, and he did the best he could to help prep his daughters and kind of give an order of leadership, which unfortunately here in the Denver area we know far too much about.
Yeah, I was gonna say, hopefully this model, this works out for the Irsay family a little bit better than the blueprint for the Bolin family. Although I think there was a little bit less preparation in the kids overall, as in terms of having a clear path towards getting that experience. We all know with the story about Brittany and her little attempt to try and fill her dad's
Cool.
shoes, but some might describe it that way. Depends on whose side of the story I guess you're looking at. But yes, that is all in the past now, since the Bolins are no longer the ownerships behind the Broncos, which is for the best because we did fall into a weird stagnation there when it was up in the air. But that's neither here nor there. We'll go ahead and just get the usual news out of the way. Phillies took a 9-5 on Wednesday afternoon, I believe, against the Rockies. This was another start for, I believe, Carson Palmquist. It's like his second MLB start. Didn't get a lot of help in this one. Hunter Goodman has been swinging a pretty good bat relative to the rest of the lineup, but unfortunately they sometimes decide that they can't use him for the DH, so they put him behind the plate as a catcher, and it's
no
you can tell sometimes.
no. That is I like the problem solving. We are solution engineering here.
I mean, it worked in Moneyball, right? That had a happy ending.
Yeah,
That's how the movie ends, right?
Yeah.
Brad Pitt gets a happy ending.
Yeah.
I watched it recently. He doesn't. He turns down the offer to be the highest paid GM for the Red Sox and instead decides to stay in Oakland and still doesn't have a World Series.
And also, you stayed in Oakland.
Yeah. Bad. Anyway, so the baby was pitching. Hunter Goodman given a couple of bases away by throwing the ball away on a pickoff attempt at third.
He does have the rocket arm. There's no, it's
the accuracy is
what's
lacking.
The other baseball movie with Charlie Sheen, Major League. He needs glasses.
Possibly, yes. So that gave Philadelphia 2 in the top of the first. The Rocks actually go ahead and tie it in the bottom of the second. And then Carson Palmquist got to know what pitching at Coors Field is like, giving up 2 home runs in the top of the third, plus 2 more in a little hit parade. He does not make it through 5 innings. Real Muto for the Phillies got another 2-run home run in the top of the sixth to put us at 9-3. Give the boys a little credit. They do not go down without a fight. They did scratch across 2 more in the bottom of the ninth, but the rally would not last, and that would be the end of the game, 9-5.
Still not winning a series, and also 9-7-9. That's
a lot of runs given up. Yes,
that's gross.
I didn't check if we are, because I don't think it had the weekend fully inputted yet on most of the stat sites, but we're still definitely in the basement fighting for worst ERA. Surprisingly, the Orioles are also having a tough time of pitching, although they've still managed to win more games than us.
Yeah, I've seen some of the teams we are lowlier than, but I don't understand how they are winning games.
Yeah, they are just following the rule of large numbers where they are winning at least about 25% of the games they play just because that's how baseball used to work until it entered the black hole of Coors Field and said, oh, no, there is a way where you can actively be worse than statistical average.
Colorado Rockies did fall to the last.
That checks out. Yeah, if you include the Saturday nonsense, but we'll get there. Yes, so that was the baseball action. Tell us about basketball.
Basketball world, we are, of course, kicked off round 3. Day before, we got Minnesota and OKC battling to get to the finals. And this one, we have Indiana versus New York Knicks. This one was fun. This one, we got some overtime basketball. Indiana did end up winning this one, 138-135. A little controversial how we got there. Did Tyrese Halliburton double dribble? Maybe. His foot was on the line, so if he scooted that back just a little bit, it probably ends the game there. But fun enough, he did do the Reggie Miller choke in the Garden, and Pacers go up 1-0 on the Knicks in New York.
In New York, yeah. A lot of similarities in this series versus the Panthers and Canes in my eyes, where like, oh, actually, you thought home court, home ice was going to be fun, huh?
Got news for you.
Yeah. Huge postseason by the Pacers so far. That is their third miraculous comeback.
Yeah, all led by Mr. Overrated himself, Tyrese Halliburton.
I think someone on the podcast even said that at one point.
Yeah, I didn't. He struggled a little bit during the middle of the season, particularly in the shooting category, which is why everyone's like, well,
he looked like the usual, like what we kind of have gotten to used to with Tyrese for the regular for most of the year. And now all of a sudden he's like clicking it on to a little bit more.
I think, to be fair to Tyrese, I think everyone forgot how good he actually, because the dude can shoot and score the ball, but him and Jokic have a little bit of the similar issue where he wants to distribute and pass first, and sometimes you just got to go do it yourself. And now that he's kind of figured out that and got that in his bag, it's dangerous for sure. To follow them up, WNBA action was also happened that day. We had Minnesota playing Dallas. Minnesota takes this one 85-81. Paige still having a little bit of a rough go. At least
there's a reason Dallas had the number one pick.
Agreed, but I should preface this by Paige is having a rough go in the win category. In the statistics category, she's kind of killing it a little bit. She's been close to double-double territory. She's averaging kind of around 20-ish points right now, if not a little bit less. So nothing to sneeze at, especially for a rookie season.
Especially, rookie, yeah.
On the other side, the brand new team, Golden State Valkyrie, take another victory, putting them, I think, 2-1 against the Washington Mystics. Brand new franchise, did not probably get the right start against LA, but records 2-1. They are looking pretty decent as well. And to finish off the day, we had Phoenix against LA, and Phoenix takes this one, and I'm going to call a little bit of an upset. LA struggled a little bit here towards the end, but 89-86, another close game, all close games on this day.
Very tight action there. Probably the best 3 in a row we've seen so far as close ones. Normally, at least one of those has been a little lopsided.
Yep, and it should be noted, at least up to this point, Minnesota and Nephalisa, undefeated. They were the team that did face off against Liberty in that finals, so kind of we have a two-headed monster that I think are potentially, at least up to this point, maybe destined to meet again.
Sure seems like it. I can't imagine anything other than injury slowing Nafisa Collier down right
Yeah,
now.
she's been hooping at least even through the summer.
Very good. Well, let's talk about the other action. PWHL had the night off, but we did have a Western Conference series for round 3 in the NHL, and that is our Edmonton Oilers at Dallas Stars series, which it's tough to call on paper, but this one in Game 1 in Dallas goes 6-3 the way of the Stars. Surprisingly, though, Mikko Rantanen not a participant in that 6 points. I think he got an assist on 1 or 2 of those points, but has not really been the motor that he was in that Winnipeg series.
Only really, he just needs to score when he needs to.
Which is fine, yeah. I mean, when you're getting 6 from the rest of the lineup, it's fine if one guy at the top isn't quite producing at the moment. But the big note about this game 1 is that it was 3-0 Oilers going into the third period, and then 6-3 for the Stars. Leon Draisaitl got first blood for the Oilers pretty quick to begin the series off. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins got a power play goal, and then Evan Bouchard sniped a goal past Stuart Skinner. I believe that was glove side for the 3-0 lead. And then in the third, the Stars were just the Oilers were taking some very dumb penalties. All of the goons from the Oilers, your Corey Perry, your Evander Kane, and your Darnell Nurse all took major penalties. 3 power plays off of 3 pretty dumb mistakes from the Oilers lead to a 6-3 after a 3-goal third period.
I don't like this, mostly for Connor McDavid. It kind of feels like very similar to how the finals are played, kind of like they're just kind of out of gas. But this is only game 1, so who knows? And I assume they're probably one of the teams that's been sitting for a while as well.
They finished up their previous series a little quicker. They took Vegas in 5. So yeah, they've had a few extra days off. Kind of interesting too that the Oilers have decided to split up McDavid and Draisaitl to the top 2 lines so that they're not overloading the one, which makes sense because most teams are only so deep defensively they can only throw their best guys at one or the other. But so far, it's been Draisaitl getting the benefit of having the B team defending him essentially, and McDavid has been relatively quiet.
Makes sense.
It does. The other news out of Wednesday, Mikko Rantanen continues to ruin Nathan MacKinnon's summer. Because Mikko and his Dallas Stars knocked out the Winnipeg Jets, Nikolai Ehlers was able to go and play for his national team of Denmark. And Denmark just knocked Canada out of the International World's Men's Championship.
What we do in Canada?
Not scoring early enough is the answer. They had a 1-0 lead going into the third and then gave up 2 late goals to Team Denmark. The Danish goalie, putting up probably the game of his life against Team Canada, had spent most of his year as a backup in the Swedish league, but threw out a 46 save performance, 1 goal allowed, and knocked Sidney Crosby and his good friend Nathan MacKinnon out of the tournament. It goes on to be Denmark versus Switzerland after Team USA knocks Czechia, who was the other favorite, out, and USA goes on to play Sweden for our final 4. That's Denmark, Switzerland, Sweden, and USA.
Poor guy.
Mac did not have a great time out in the tournament. The only other news story I saw before Canadian team gets upset by Denmark was Finnish reporter causes Nathan MacKinnon to storm off in rage.
Oh no.
And it was basically just like a weird kind of not super professional interview where he was asking kind of repeatedly and pointedly at Nathan MacKinnon what he thought of the refs in that game. He's like, yeah, I didn't like the calls. What else? And you can only waste so much of Nathan MacKinnon's time before he's Canadian, so he will finish the interview. but then he will stomp away, visibly frustrated.
Why are we upsetting the man with weapons on his feet?
It's a great question, but that is the highlights out of the hockey world from Wednesday.
Thursday. Let's finish the series. Surely the Rockies can get one.
You'd think after 3 days of putting a spanking on the boys, maybe the Phillies just got tired.
You can't beat us every time.
But a lot of the time you can, unfortunately. We have not yet found the number of times that Philly can't beat us in a row. This one is a rough one, especially because another pretty good pitching performance kind of thrown in the trash can here.
There's silver linings to things.
Yeah, we'll call them silver linings when one of the three major functions of your team performs and the other two don't.
It's a silver lining.
I guess so, yeah. This one, to finish off the the visit from the Phillies, on their getaway day, they take home a 2-0 victory over the Rockies. And this one was actually a pretty good pitching duel. German Marquez versus Ranger Suarez, a classic Latin showdown. And our boy German actually did quite well for himself, and the Rockies were just kind of unable to come up with any clutch hits. Brenton Doyle did get himself a triple like in the first or second inning that they could not cash in, which is kind of a big glaring missed opportunity.
Some may say he is missing run support. That is our
He is yes. I mean, that's your RISP that you're looking for. The runners in scoring position number, which our team is atrocious at, by the way.
I mean, you have to.
You don't even have to look it up. They're bad.
You have to get a hit to get runners into scoring position, which is where we struggle mightily.
Exactly. Yeah, it doesn't happen very often for our guys, and they just don't know what to do when it happens. Another big factor in this game, though, was an egregiously bad strike zone from the home plate umpire. It went a little both ways, but the Rockies saw a couple more than the Phillies did for some pretty awful, missed by 2 or 3 inches strikeout
That
calls.
Angel Hernandez retired out here. What happened?
His legacy lives on in the hearts and minds of umpires around the league.
This is why they're going to get fired.
It sure is. And once again, it was Bryce Harper who provided the little bit of scoring that the fans got to see. RBI double in the 4th and an RBI double in the 7th. Both from Bryce get the 2 runs for the win. And that was it. The Rocks did have a couple late chances with runners on, but did not get any of that clutch hitting I was talking about. So that was it. There was a nice little defensive play late in the game to prevent a 3rd run from coming in, but lipstick on a pig, I think is the phrase for that one.
Yeah, silver lining. We only gave up 2 runs.
Yeah, it could not generate any of our run, though. Pretty messed up on this one because in the highlight package for the game, you hear the sound of fans cheering as the Phillies do their high five line. It's not a home game for them.
What?
They are on the road. It's not normal to be getting cheered as you're winning a home game or an away game.
Coors Field, the home for everybody except the Rockies. But
basically, yeah.
I mean, I don't, at this point, I don't know who is going to go to the game if you're a baseball fan to cheering for the Rockies. Mostly going to be a lot of those away fans. If I can get a ticket, people could probably fly out here and get a ticket for cheaper than what they could probably buy it in their hometown.
That is true. I think, and I do think a lot of Yankees fans are privy to that. Although I will say I did see that the Yankees series was not 100% sold out this year.
No, that was not. We have I don't know if we've sold out any game quite yet.
I think it's not much yet, but attendance has been down kind of pretty largely by a few thousand tickets every game so far.
Yeah, not one to be sold out. Looking like Miami out here.
For very good reason. I mean, they're even talking about it on the news for crying out loud. Kyle Clark did a segment on 9 News. That. I was like, where he's like, I don't want to be. I just want to take my girls to the baseball game and not think I'm funding the problem here, which is a very fair and valid point. But yeah, that is the Phillies series, and Yankees are coming to town.
It's impressive. It is very difficult to get swept in a 4-game series. One.
They're very tricksy, yeah.
So good for the Rockies and way to keep making history.
Really innovating and surprising people across the league with just how bad we can be at the game.
Yeah. We'll go to the basketball news as we continue our round ball. Game 2, back to OKC, where Minnesota is visiting them. This game 103 to 118 in OKC's favor. Saw a little bit more fight in Minnesota's and not as much struggle because helps when your star player doesn't go down midway through and all that jazz. But OKC goes up 2-0 on the Timberwolves, which a little bit of a problem. Don't want to be, you really wish you could still one away from them, but they're going to be heading back to Minnesota for this one. But the more important news earlier in the day, on this day, our Lord and Savior Josh Kroenke decided to do an interview with all the media, of course, here in Colorado and other respective places, and basically started off the interview saying, hey, David Adelman is going to be our guy. Our new head coach liked what he saw, so that puts one slot down for the Denver Nuggets. We are still missing a GM, which is kind of important because we do have a lot of big moves to make.
There are some moves that need to be made,
Yeah.
yes. But that is very reassuring to have at least one of the question marks, for the offseason already checked off.
And funny enough, I do believe on the same day, the Memphis Grizzlies also named their interim coach as their head coach. So all 3 interim coaches that were around, basically got their jobs both in San Antonio, Memphis, and in Denver.
Well, very good. Happy to see that. Again, OKC taking a 2-0 lead right out of the gate here. And because I believe this was also the same day that Shai was officially named MVP, and everyone's like, he got the little boost off of that.
Yeah, Shai's been a tough problem for Minnesota to solve. He is what most would call a free throw merchant, and the way Minnesota plays defensively, as we know from Nugget fans, is very aggressive and physical, which
is also how the Thunder are playing defensively. They're just not getting called for it.
Correct, because the makeup of the team is a little different. Memphis is all a bunch of like 6'5" plus dudes that are gonna go beat you up, where OKC is a bunch of like 6'5" and under dudes who are gonna be beating you up, which is apparently not the same in the NBA. One is allowed to mug, one is not.
Yeah, I guess it's just that size misconception. Like, oh, he's a bigger guy. You can't be. He can beat up on you, but you can't be beating up on him.
Yes, you can ask. We can bring Nikola Jokic on and ask him about how some 6-foot dudes are just destroying him.
I'd be down to interview Nikola. Yeah. Get him on the line.
Can't. He's busy with horses now. He wanted to go home.
That's true. He's free. For his summer. We'll leave him in peace. Sure. But when he's back in Denver next season, get him on the media tour.
Love to see. I would love to. It'd be fun to interview him, especially knowing the person he is. And also, we're not a very serious podcast either, so I think we'd have fun together.
I think so too.
But WNBA action also happens this day. Indiana taking on Atlanta. Indiana escaping here, 81-76 with the W. Caitlin Clark. I'm gonna kind of put the word out there now. She's having a hell of a season. I think this week she was averaging close to a triple-double almost, which is crazy.
She came out of the gate looking to prove a point of like, hey, I am fully rested and ready to go this year.
Who wants this smoke? And the answer is not a lot of people. And to follow them up, we kind of talked about them. New York Liberty taking on Chicago. Chicago got a little bit of a mollywop here, 99-74. The Liberty are a tough team to compete with. Chicago still figuring some things out. They need to get their scoring in line, I would say, for the most part. They have a lot of the other pieces around them. Angel Reese has got the rebounding, and they have the physicality between her and Cardoza, but ball handling, scoring, need some more of that out of Chicago to be competitive.
Yeah, definitely still some obvious missing pieces. It's not quite a fully functioning machine over there yet.
Ideally, when Haley Van Leith kind of develops a little bit, she should hopefully be able to help supply that with Angel Reese, but we will see as the season goes on. Still very early on, like I said, in the basketball world, these first 2 weeks, depending on which sport we're watching, NBA versus WNBA, don't really matter. Throw them away into the bin, and we will talk about what teams really are in a couple weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving right along into playoff action in the NHL. We had game 2 in that Florida Carolina series, and Carolina, again, on their first 2 games at home, having just given up a 5-2 pretty major loss, looking to kind of right the ship, take a split here. Instead, put up a 5-0
Very
loss.
un-Carolina like.
It was ugly, and yeah, pretty one sided. The Panthers came out and in the second shift of the game, immediately put in a goal. Uh, Connor Verhage got 2 more in the first, took them into the first intermission 3-0.
I don't know. Florida does seem to be like they are here to prove a point. It's been a while since we've had a repeat Stanley Cup winner. I don't even like. Did the
Tampa
was the
was
Thunder
the last
to
one.
do it?
Yeah, the Lightning.
Yeah, but it's doesn't happen very often, and they might just have enough in them to do so. And at least thus far, they've shown that they are real.
Yeah, it's looking like they built a solid roster here. They've got all their same kind of star forwards from last year. You have Barkov, you have Bennett, you have Evan Rodriguez still all there. Then at the deadline, they added Brad Marchand from Boston, and he's done his "I'm here for a ring and no one's getting in my way" tour on this one. His first time outside of the Boston black and yellow, but he has brought all of the same grit and finished with him. And then Seth Jones also kind of adding just like that nice complementary depth into their back line where for the first time in a long time, no one's expecting Seth Jones to be the guy.
You just go contribute where you can.
It's a little bit of the Eric Johnson stage of his career where he's past the first pick, like first round pick expectations, and everyone's just like, okay, maybe you're not that guy. Just be the best version of what guy you are.
Just be a guy.
Yeah. So yeah, an absolute drubbing. Sam Bennett and Andrei Barkov both add gravy goals in the third period, and it is a 5-0 absolute whooping that Florida gets to take a 2-0 series lead to their first home game in the series coming up in a couple days there.
It's a little fun because Florida is the goonish team in the NHL, and you don't get to see that team doesn't win very often.
They've found the right mix of goonish and talented is I think the key to the secret sauce there. Because if it wasn't Brad Marchand and like Keith Tkachuk or whichever Tkachuk, I don't remember.
Matthew.
There, thank you. There's a Keith, there's a Brady, and I never get to Matthew.
They're a hockey family. What do you want from them? They will all fight Canadians.
Yes, they sure do. They love to fight a Canadian. But yes, having the quality of goons that they have is really proving to be a path to success. Now, how much will they be able to keep this team together in the salary cap era? We will worry about that after the playoffs, is generally every GM's answer.
Everyone's getting paid the same right now.
Yep. So yes, a pretty dominant performance out in the East there. And our other action is Game 2 of the PWHL Finals. Minnesota down 1-0 in this series. And this game was somehow even tighter and with less scoring opportunities. A 0-0 draw for 57 minutes of regulation until Abby LaRocque got the charge a lead with 1:56 left on the clock. And we thought, oh, wow, 1-0 and Gwyneth Phillips pitches a shutout. What a great way to take a 2-0 lead for the Charge. Except the Frost said, actually, we're going to draw a power play here in the last 45 seconds of game time. And with 15 seconds, Britta Curl was able to knock in a juicy rebound, forcing an OT, and then was the same one to score in overtime after surviving a pretty big onslaught of Charge offensive shift time. A real 10 saves in a row from Maddie Rooney in overtime before the Frost were able to go down and get the game winner in on Gwyneth Phillips. The Frost did switch over to Maddie Rooney in goal on this one, and she put up a 35 save out of 36 performance, which is like a 950 still save percentage. So that was in fact the right call to make apparently, and might have been just the coaching change to give them the edge in this one. They go to Minnesota for game 3 with the series tied 1-1. It is 1-3 on this one for that Walter Cup championship.
It's all 0-0 right now.
It is, yeah, even again after a very exciting series. And if you're enjoying this tight defensive hockey, I have good news. We have lots of it and extra.
Always extra hockey, especially in the playoff time. Speaking of series we liked in some surprises, what happened on Friday?
Oh boy. Well, as we've been alluding to all episode long, the Yankees are coming to town for a weekend 3 sets, and on Friday night, the Rockies shocked the baseball world, let me tell you. In the City Connects, with the Bo Nix blessing for his first ceremonial pitch to start the game, which was a perfect strike, as was noted by many outlets. Good form, good baseball form from Bo Nix. Not every other athlete knows the baseball windup.
The best first pitch I've ever seen is Ichiro's.
Oh yeah,
He threw like an 84-mile-an-hour fastball down for a first pitch, which is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that's giving it to an actual player to do, so I'm not surprised with that. But yes, so rocking our lovely sky blues, rocking behind the Bo Nix blessing. It was a spot start for Tanner Gordon after our other baby, Chase Dolander, went to the IL with forearm tightness. And I guess we've seen Tanner Gordon before at some point because he got called up.
Like I said, to really just pick a baby.
We will have to do a has this player played for the Rockies or not, or is this even a baseball person quiz at one point. But anyway, our pitcher today was Tanner Gordon, and he was able to get through a pretty rocky start because if you're not aware, this Yankees lineup is pretty loaded. You've got Aaron Judge in the 3 spot, and now you've got Paul Goldschmidt in the 4 spot, trying to make that work again. We saw a lot of Goldie when he was the first baseman for the Diamondbacks. He just spent a good 4 years doing that for the Cardinals, where it was supposed to be him and Arenado, and that never really clicked. And now he is off with the Yankees, where Arenado wished he could go.
I was going to say, the poor guy he has to play for the Rockies, and then now he's in isolation in St. Louis, where they're destined to also kind of die.
Yeah, they got off to a hot start, and I think Arenado himself is having a pretty good little resurgence this year, which got a little trade rumors swirling this first month of the year that someone might make a move for him, but none of that has materialized.
Sure, we'll pay for it.
Yes. So with this loaded lineup, and I did not know this, Aaron Judge has not been to Coors Field very often in his career yet. He came into the series without a home run at Coors Field. But he leads off with a single in this game in his first at bat, and then immediately gets that followed up by a Goldschmidt triple, which was a run batted in. After that, Ezekiel Tovar and Kyle Farmer both hit doubles that failed to get cashed in, which made it look like, oh no, the no offense team showed up again. But fortunately, Ryan McMahon was able to come in the bottom of the 5th with 2 on, 2 out, and after the first reliever out of the bullpen on his very first pitch out of the bullpen, Ryan McMahon hit this one 370 feet exactly to hit the top of the wall out in center field. Not over, but off the top, which was actually fine. It was a fortuitous bounce away from the fielder, allowed Ryan McMahon to hit a triple, which gave us a 3-2 lead that we would hold on to. This was the 5th inning, and the bullpen actually put up scoreless 6th, 7th, 8th, and what did I say his first name was? Kyle Agnos got his 3rd save of the year on, I think, his 3rd save opportunity.
He is, I'm pretty sure, 100%.
Which is, crazy. I'm not sure what he's doing the rest of the time if he's a closer who does not get save opportunities.
A podcast, probably.
If only. I would be listening to it.
Number 9 for the Rockies.
Yeah. Win number 9. 9-40 overall. No, we're like 9-42 at this point after all those Phillies losses. But yes, the little team that could beat the Bronx Street Bombers on this Friday night in Lodo. A win that this team will never forget because they will have to survive on its heat and warmth for many months.
Because we only have 9. It's one of 9.
Exactly. You can count them all on the 2 hands still. You don't even need your toes yet. But yes, that was the little spark of joy for all of Rockies Nation. We did it. We did it against the Yankees.
This is where
and there will be no negative repercussions for this at
this
all.
will be this is where the Disney movie ends.
Yeah, pretty much.
Unfortunately for New York, it's not a good time. They had to watch their Yankees lose to these Rockies. I'm sure that hurt to begin with, and then to follow that up in the Garden, things do not get much better for them as Hallie's still giving the Knicks the what do. 114-109 is how this one finishes. Indiana goes up 2-0 on the New York Knicks, and we are
after the
heading
home games. Yeah.
back to Indiana. Whoa.
And this was the Siakam game, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah, 38 points or something.
Yeah.
A huge performance that, because I remember that trade. Was that last season when Toronto made that trade?
It was.
And it was like, okay, that kind of makes sense, but Indiana still is going to need something else to. That's not like you look at that on paper, and it wasn't like, oh yeah, that's a Eastern Conference Finals.
Siakam's been good. He's been sort of the heart of Toronto for the most part. He's been in MVP conversations ish, at least when he was out there. He's had kind of a drop off since his past.
It took a bit to adjust to the new team.
Yeah,
maybe.
a little bit there. He's kind of figured out what his role is and how he plays. And right now, it just really feels like Indiana's role in the universe is to upset the Knicks as much as possible.
It was, pretty exciting. Another, like, the last 2 minutes of the game. It was must see. And I think the other note out of the ending on this one was Jalen Brunson coming up a little short in clutch time there, especially with the very long 3 he decided to shoot at the end of the game.
Yeah, a lot of former NBA players and analysts have an issue with the problem they see with Jalen Brunson is in a 24-second shot clock, he will hold the ball for 17 of those seconds and then make a decision on what to do, which can be problematic at times and end up taking some of the shots he does. Not the easiest, but if he's Mr. Clutch, so you let him, I guess.
I mean, I couldn't think of, who else on the roster you want taking those shots, and obviously they didn't have.
It's not very good right now, like looking down who you may want to. The only person you may want to take a clutch 3 would have been Dante, but he's over in the Western Conference kind of getting the business handed to him as well. That being said, more prayers for this team and the Minnesota team because it's not looking very good for the Villanova boys thus far. Kind of killing the NBA storylines I want.
Yeah, I believe at this point in the week I started seeing the I know there's a lot of games left to play, but OKC and Indiana, what a finals.
Yep, and everyone in the Midwest would be so happy.
That would be exciting for the Midwest.
That's like a
to the absolute anger of the coastal elites in California and New York.
At least they're central to everybody on the bright side.
Yes, everyone except the central time zone will have to make adjustments.
Quick rundown of the WNBA action that happened that day as well. Minnesota taking on Connecticut 76-70. Nafisa is balling. I mean, that's all you really got to say for that one. Seattle still cooking. They take on Phoenix, who's been upsetting a lot of people. They win this one 77-70. Seattle might have something special out there right now. Who knows? We will continue to keep an eye on them. Golden State getting another victory, this time beating the big brother LA 82-73 is how that one finaled. And then Vegas taking on Washington, and Vegas wins that one 75-72.
Another batch of tight games. Now it's remind me again how many teams are in the W altogether.
There are currently 14, I want to say.
It's gonna
12 or 14.
a little bit more like the PWHL series or schedule, where we're gonna see a lot of matchups against the same teams a little bit more over and over.
Yeah, so there's 13 teams currently. There's another 2 or 3 planned. I think the plan is to have 16 by 26, so in 2 years.
Yeah, that checks out. But yeah, we will keep an eye on that. I'm certain those series will get a little bit more even as we go through the year. That brings us to our playoff hockey action. And this one we have game 2 on the Western Conference side. That is Edmonton looking for a little payback against Dallas and trying to get that split here in the Dallas portion of the series. And they are successful. A 3-0 shutout from Stuart Skinner powers the Oilers to a game 2 win, evening up that series at 1-1. The Stars were able to run their finish 5 for the first time. I'm not sure if you were aware that they had accumulated an entire line of finished players.
Do you know how terrifying that is going to be, especially with the new All-Star format that they have set now?
Yeah, a lot of people in the league were very acutely aware of it when the Rantanen trade broke down. So it is like a Rupe Hintz, Mikael Granlund, I want to say, and then Rantanen with Esa Lindell and Miro Heiskanen on the defense, and that is essentially a Team Finland starting lineup.
God, it just especially the way they played in that's horrifying.
Yeah, it's a pretty impressive set to have collected as a GM. That being said, they do not factor into this game very much. In fact, one of the Finnish 5 goes down to injury, but we'll get there. This was Ryan Nugent-Hopkins to open our scoring with a power play 6 minutes into the game. And he has really sort of flourished now in the later portion of his career after also having a lot of tumultuous first round pick expectations kind of put on him, expecting to carry that Oilers franchise. And now that a couple other guys who are way better than him and take that weight off his shoulders, he's kind of flourished into a middle six guy.
Not everyone's meant to be a Batman or a Superman. Sometimes you just need to form a Justice League, and I will be the Green Arrow, and I'm just going to be chilling here.
Yeah, and every once in a while, Green Arrow comes in with a very specific snipe, and you're like, thanks, buddy.
Boxing glove arrow. That's why you have.
So yeah, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins really kind of playing his role here in round 3. Brett Kulak and Connor Brown add on the 2 other goals for the Oilers. And in a feisty third period, Rupe Hintz takes a nasty slash to the back of his knee from Darnell Nurse. Immediately crumbles to the ice.
Are we talking about a slash or a
so it was one of those
slash?
It was one of those 2 guys kind of doing the battle in front of the net, and as Hintz is trying to like kind of skate away, Darnell comes down with like a pretty vicious. Yeah, the
5-minute major.
Everyone thought so, but no. In fact, the refs on review called it a 2-minute minor, which definitely got the fans riled up down there in Dallas.
He said, "Show me where you hit him."
Yeah, and even on the 2 minutes power play, and this has been a thing. Like the Stars' power play may be overperformed in their series against us, but it has not been a strength of theirs consistently through the year, and that was one of the things they were hoping Rantanen would fix for them. That being said, in this game, again, 3 points from, well, in this game, Dallas got no points from anyone, so another one where Rantanen just doesn't quite show up, but the real, I think, takeaway in this one was Stuart Skinner with a 25 save shutout. And the meme about him now sounds kind of familiar. You either get a shutout or a 5 goals allowed.
It's the way it be in the NHL.
And that's just who they have to gamble with over there in oil land. So, but even the series now, and it moves back to Edmonton for our game coming up today, I want to say.
Yeah, if you can still win, that's huge.
Yeah, the split is important, and definitely means this one will probably be going a little deeper than that Florida one is looking.
For sure. Speaking of some foreshadowing, we did. Rockies beat the Yankees. It's all celebration.
They do have a couple more games to play against the Yankees, unfortunately, and we got to see one of those yesterday.
We did. And I think the Yankees also remembered they lost to the Rockies.
They almost certainly were not very happy with their performance on Friday evening.
Is Aaron Boone still in charge over there?
I believe so, yes, as the manager. And yeah, a stern talking to there in that Yankees dugout, and they came to play. And unfortunately, the start on Saturday went to Kyle Freeland.
Hometown hero.
Our hometown, more like who's the biblical figure I want? Job.
It reminds me of the commercial I constantly keep seeing on our YouTube TV is sometimes when you need Batman and you end up with Bateman.
yes, the Bateman commercials have been very funny. And yes, unfortunately, very relatable for when we wish we had a Batman. But it was Freed versus Freeland in this one. And remember how Aaron Judge didn't have a home run coming into this series at Coors Field?
About to put one in that Tacoma out there.
He sure did. Solo home run in the top of the first, his 18th of the year, which is leading the league so far, surprising no one. In fact, he's hitting like almost 400. He's having a monster
year. He's
year.
Already in talks for like potentially another MVP caliber season. And I think from what I saw, his pace right now is better than his pace last year on home runs.
Yeah. He's hitting in a year where league-wide averages and home runs are down. He's hitting better than like what the old averages used to be. So if he keeps that up and stays healthy, fingers crossed, that'll be an exciting season to keep an eye on. But after that, so that's a 1-0 lead. The Rockies lose 2 base runners to pickoffs. Classic, fun feeling. Very good. As a former baseball player, let me tell you, there's nothing more fun than getting picked off of as a base runner.
They should throw their gloves.
It's like I did the hard part. I got the ball in play past all the guys. I'm just standing over here. You're gonna pick me off too? Jeez. So yeah, base runners immediately deleted in the early going.
What about the runners in scoring position and all that? We're good.
Yeah, they never whiffed scoring position. Until in the bottom of the fourth, Ezekiel Tovar got himself a single. And on this instance, going for his third pickoff, the pitch or the throw from the pitcher went wide of first base, allowed Tovar to get up to second. And for maybe the first time all year, the Rockies cashed in on a free base runner into scoring position. Michael Toglia hit an RBI triple right after that to tie us at 1-1, and it's looking pretty good, right? It's tight. It's gonna go down to top of the fifth. It all falls apart.
Someone send that man a Wilson. He's dying out there on third.
It's bad. So in the top of the fifth, Kyle Freeland gives up an RBI double. And then with the bases almost loaded, a small dribbler back to the mound, he throws it wide of first base down the right field line, allowing another run to score. Then a sac fly with the bases loaded gets the first out of the inning. DJ LeMahieu came in. No, we gave up an infield single off the heel of the second baseman. It hit the second base, which caused it to bounce weird on the second baseman, so it hit off the heel of his glove. Got no outs on the play. Then another sac fly, so now we're at 2 outs. Only giving up 4 runs so far.
That is already that's more than we can usually score.
And then DJ LeMahieu came up and put a bloop single out into no man's land behind second base to score another run.
Notable Rockies fan, DJ LeMahieu.
Notable expert of how to roam those lands of second base at Coors Field, DJ LeMahieu. He was the last, that hit was the last one needed for the Yankees to have every one of their 9 hitters collect an RBI. And that was the end for Kyle Freeland after 4 2/3.
Like I said, we are here just to help make history, and that's what the Rockies are here for this season.
Angel Chiavelli came out of the bullpen, and it's rough duty. This is his second year in the league. And his main duty has been mop up with a bad, rusty, not working mop.
I
He
would, if I were him, if I get called up like on the walkout from the bullpen because we have kind of a long stretch out there. Just during my stretch, I'd just pull something, just fake an injury or something.
Can't go, coach.
Yeah, it'd be like
That would might be to the benefit of the team from now on. After he was done, he gave up 4 more runs before getting the third out. Mind you, he came in with 2
that.
outs.
My man does not have strings on his mop. He's just scraping the water around.
Essentially. And that was basically it. That was 10-1, 11-1 after that 5th inning, and then a couple little insurance runs later on off the rest of the bullpen put us at a final of 13-1. Much more of the caliber that we were expecting out of the series.
Yeah, I assumed the Yankees were jet lagged or whatever it is. Long plane ride in on the
Just
first day.
the one day, acclimating to the altitude maybe, and a little good night of sleep, and they were ready to roll today.
Also, I can't.
Or yesterday.
I have to imagine that Boone chewed them after they
Most
lost.
to the 9, giving up the 9th win to the lowly Rockies. Everyone who gives up a win to the Rockies gets their ass chewed out afterwards. I guarantee.
Diamondbacks included.
Absolutely. What else was going on Saturday?
Saturday was a very busy day around the world, as kind of see a theme here as we go through the week. Got hockey and basketball. In the basketball world, round 3, game 3. We are finally in Minnesota for this one, and Minnesota wakes up. They end this game. Make sure my score is right there because I'm pretty sure that is a typo because that is a crazy score. Nope, that is right. 101 to 143.
I was also a little curious if that was accurate.
Is the final of this one. Minnesota is awake, and as we very well know here as Denver Nuggets fans, when you head into the Minnesota, they become a little bit more of a problem. Anthony Edwards seems to wake up, and playing at home is a whole different beast, especially for a lot of their role players.
They also seem pretty tailor-made to playing the playoff style of defense, which is very aggressive.
Very much so. In this one, and OKC struggled to kind of top down in shooting, which doesn't happen too often. And Minnesota did make them pay for that, mightily, in fact. So 2-1 is what this series is at now. Minnesota needs to get another one here to tie it up. In the WNBA, we had Atlanta going up against Dallas, 83-75. Dallas still searching for that ever so elusive win, but they are in the ball game, and that's, I think, a lot better than what you can ask for from a lot of teams throughout mini league.
Yes, it's like you still know you're in rebuild mode, but when you can feel you're getting closer, you're making tangible progress. It's still pretty good.
It's the exciting part where it's just like, oh, we're a piece or two away from this becoming a really fun thing. But the game of the week, New York taking on Indiana. This one is one of those primetime ESPN type of games. 90-88. New York escapes with a lead, upsetting Caitlin Clark in, we'll say, questionable fashion, because some were asking if she got fouled or whatnot at the end there, which would have put her at the line and potentially overtime. But ref said no foul, and also I have my cane over here, so I can't really see.
Classic that things come down to officiating, but a 2-point game against the defending champs.
Indiana are one of those teams that, depending on, they are very heavily reliant on how well they shoot the ball, very much like every other team, but very much so around the arc. But they are one of those teams that they could potentially be a champion. Like they are right there, if not a piece away from having something really special, especially around Caitlin Clark out there.
Yeah, I think the progress we've seen in that rebuild is incredible and fantastic, and is going to make, I think, a lot of other GMs are going to be trying for big swings of a similar nature, and most of them are not going to work this well.
Yeah, it's fun to see the transition from where they were to this is what they looked like with Caitlin Clark, and then getting all the pieces.
And now,
sort of around
a season
Caitlin Clark.
of being able to mold around that.
Yeah,
can borne a lot of fruit already.
Yeah, the WNBA seems to be like a special place where you can, luckily enough, it kind of seems like a lot of pieces are movable. And if you can see how like your star touted player plays, you can just go grab the pieces they need to make them really good, and which is sort of what Indiana did to fix up from being sort of the bottom team to one of the top, I'm going to say 4 teams right now currently, which is a big big upswing from
Yeah, huge
the
jump.
12 teams that were in the league at the time.
When Caitlin started last season, most people still projected the Fever to be a bottom half team, and she took them to the playoffs.
She did. So it'll be fun to see because Dallas is kind of like the next team. Paige is very, very good. I don't know if she has the same shooting capability of Caitlin Clark, but as a competitor, I think she is probably next up. So it'll be fun to see what they do and how that team looks next year.
Absolutely. Moving on to our hockey action on Saturday, we had NHL and PWHL. In the Eastern Conference Series, we're up to Game 3. The Hurricanes have to go to Florida now and try and pull a couple of games in a row here in enemy territory after pretty thoroughly getting their butts whooped. They do go ahead and make the goalie change. Their starter Anderson gets the bench, and their backup Kochetkov comes in to just try and, give the boys a fresh look, a little new energy. Unfortunately, that was not to the winning changeup in this case, and Florida gets an early 1-0 lead off of a lucky bounce in front off a defenseman's leg. The Canes do go ahead and tie it with a power play goal late in the second period, so it is 1-1 coming into the third. This one completely falls apart on the Hurricanes. 6-2 is our final. Florida comes out, gets an immediate goal. 5 minutes later, get a 3-on-2 breakaway and cash in. And then 3 minutes after that, another juicy D-zone turnover turns into a 4-1 lead for the Cats. And then two softies on the back end really just kind of put the nail in the coffin on that one. Florida taking a commanding 3-0 lead with Game 4 still in Florida coming up.
I think I'm going to call Bob's your uncle there. I think Carolina is going to be cooked.
We haven't even mentioned how good Bob Brofsky's been for the Panthers in net, but yes, Bob has been a huge factor for them.
Bob has been their uncle.
Yes.
But yeah, I can't foresee them coming back. They just seem, if Florida figured out how to score on them on the team that's probably one of the toughest to score on, I don't think they have an answer back because they have to do the same amount of scoring, which we know they are incapable of.
Basically, yeah, the Carolina blueprint of will lock you down and win a low-scoring game has been kind of blown out of the water here. Florida has not been stymied at all by this Canes system, and the Canes just haven't been able to get out early and kind of put their foot down on a game at all. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but I think this one is probably leaning towards a sweep. The Canes have not really shown any real fight just yet in coming close to taking away W. So one more chance for them, though, and they might prove us all wrong. Then our Game 3 finals in the PWHL. It's all tied up 1-1 after two 2-1 games in overtime. And in this one, it is an early lead for Ottawa. Emily Clark gets a juicy rebound for their first shot of the game about 10 minutes into the first period and nets it, giving the Charge a 1-0 lead. But the Frost are able to tie late in the second with a tip from Lee Steckline happening out in front of the goalie and tipping it past, which means we are tied at 1-1, and we would stay tied 1-1 going into overtime. And we would stay tied 1-1 going into second overtime.
Do I hear 7?
And we do not get up to 7 this time. Not a record breaker, but we do go into 3 overtimes of just a wild goalie battle. Again, it's been, you have to fight tooth and nail just to get a bit of space to shoot the puck out there, but there have been chances aplenty. This one, in fact, really was Gwyneth Phillips desperately keeping the Charge in this one because the Frost generated a lot more dangerous chances and looks, especially throughout the OT game, because it was essentially a whole second game of just overtime periods. But it was Katie Knoll for the Frost who finally ended triple overtime about halfway through. That puts Minnesota in position to possibly bring home the Walter Cup in Game 4 in their home ice on Monday.
Should have won. They already played 2 games.
What?
Because they played 3 overtime.
You'd think, but no, they do now have to go play another scheduled game.
Yeah.
But yeah, very tight. It's wild how identical all of these games have been, 2-1 with overtime.
I mean, that good series overall. I think they're very evenly, for the most part, matched teams. Really, anything could happen. It just takes one really lucky or unlucky bounce to change the outcome of people's seasons now.
Basically, I mean, the Charge have done a great job again of running their game plan of not letting your best players, the best players on the opposing team, beat you. They've really locked down the top line again for Minnesota, so that's kind of put a damper on their big scoring engine. But the depth for Minnesota has proven to be just a little bit more reliable. I think if the Charge are going to take this one to 5, they are going to have to try and find a little bit more scoring up and down the roster. Emily Clark is, I think, half of their points in this series so far. So they're not out of it by any means, especially with Gwyneth Phillips potentially able to toss a shutout up on any given night. But we will see. Monday night will be the big decider.
Let the hockey gods be in whoever's favor, but I hope it's Minnesota because that's who I guess would win.
That is what your guess was, yes.
That brings us into today, and unsurprisingly, the Rockies are still looking for their first series win because did not win against the Yankees today. Surprise, surprise. This one ends in 5-4.
After a hefty rain delay.
Hour and 45 is what the rain delay did, which gave the Yankees enough time to think about what is happening on the field and why are we tied probably with this lowly Colorado Rockies team. Aaron Judge says, "You're right, coach, manager, mister, I got you." And they did come back and they said, time to fix this. 5-4 is the final there. Yankees got 2 runs in the 5th, and Rockies answered with 1 in the 6th, and the Yankees answered with another 1 in the 8th, and Rockies answered with one more final attempt to rally in the 9th, but only got 1 of the 2 runs they needed back.
I mean, again, good on them for fighting through to the last out. But you look at the lineup and you don't see how it chains together in any sort of rally potential. There's so many spots where guys are like hitting 212 or something in general, much less like with people on base or with runners in scoring position. I'm pretty certain outside of like the 5 names that we keep mentioning, like McMahon, Tovar, Goodman, Farmer. Outside of those 4 guys, I don't know of anyone who's consistently batting any runs in or anything like that. So, yeah, it's a broken machine that, I mean, I would have been shocked if they took this series from the Yankees. They did put up more of a fight than I thought they would in 2 of the 3 games, though.
What a crazy way. What a crazy reality we almost had where the Rockies' first series win is against the New York Yankees.
That would have been insane. The Rockies, no off day, will be going to Chicago for a 3-game set and then off to visit New York and play the Mets.
The other New York team where we get to see our friend Soto out there who makes more than our whole roster is worth.
Literally.
By 3x almost.
Yes. I guess now is as good a time as any. We can chat a little about the news around the league. This week's news about Juan Soto being, what was he doing out in that Yankees series? Because it was not playing baseball, apparently.
It's chilling.
Apparently. Yeah, a lot of murmurs about Juan Soto is done chasing his bag now and has stopped running.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows it happens in every sport when it's sort of that contract year, and sometimes you play out of your mind and you get a contract that's maybe worth more than you're potentially worth, or you were playing at a superhuman level. It happens a lot. Don't know why, don't know how, but it does.
I think the hilarious thing though, and you brought this one to my attention, so I had to go look it up. It was not just a pinch hit appearance; it was an entire game that he took 10 pitches without swinging. In like across 4 different at bats, he put 1 ball into play the entire game, and it was a sac fly out to center field.
He probably did a good old monkey paws wish over here. Can I have the bag? And they were like, cool. But you could never hit a ball against the New York Yankees ever again. And he was like,
something.
Bet.
He did not struggle against the prophecy in this one. He allowed his fate to come to him, and
The fate, he just,
I would be pretty. All I know is if I were one of the rich old men who owns a baseball team and can afford to write the checks for these ridiculous contracts, and that was the product I was seeing on television, I would have some words. But yeah, that is the Soto news. Have you heard any of the controversy out of Red Sox Nation?
which controversy? I know they were upset about their, well, who is it, Corey? Or
So Devers, who is their third
I've
baseman,
heard about him, and he the one that said I'm not going to play first base?
their first baseman got injured, and so there was already controversy about it in spring training about them wanting to move him around, and he was like, "No, third base is my position. What don't you get about that?" And that is non-negotiable. And whoever was the GM when they signed was like, "Yeah, guaranteed, you're a third baseman. You got it." That GM got fired. The new GM is like, "Hey, we need someone over at first base now because the guy who we thought we had, is injured now."
And also, you're not our everyday third baseman.
Yeah, either way. And he said, absolutely not. And it kind of became a little public.
I know the owner had to almost get in the middle of it or something like that, and
There,
he's like,
there were conversations that had to be made where he had to be reassured of his value because his initial thing was, I will not play. He's like, third base is my position, and I will not play anything else. Which hinted that he might like demand a trade or something. Which he's got a pretty fresh contract. He might have, the trade protection or whatever that he can demand that. But yes, very funny. It forced them to trade for a first baseman from the Angels, who are one of the other teams that keep getting mentioned in the Rockies company as far as bad pitching.
nope. They don't. They do not compare. They
They
are
it does
bad. They are bad, and unfortunately, Mike Trout has to play for that team, and will probably retire an Angel. But
That'll be very sad. A real wasted potential out of Mike Trout's career. I don't think he's even seen the postseason.
if he's seen it, I think maybe once, but it was bad. It was a whooping.
Yeah.
If you think about it, though, another 10 years or so, Rockies.
We couldn't afford Mike Trout even at 60, but
We would still pay him.
oh, we absolutely would, and Dick Monfort would sign him.
You're how old? That's not a problem for us.
I know your name though, so other people do too, and that'll sell tickets. But yeah, so that is the funny controversy out in Boston. They have a third base slugger who is still like a pretty good hitter, but a little drama around the third base position. To which some people were like, "Oh, hey, get Nolan Arenado."
I was because I heard about this a while back, and I was thinking like, I am paying you to do a thing, but I'm also asking you to do something that's like not what I'm also paying you for. Like, where does that like, how does that work? Because if in a normal job, like, if
Yeah,
we go into like a restaurant, which me and you know very much of, if I'm the host and they're like, hey, we need a cook back there, I'd be like, but I'm paid to be the host. That's what I do.
yeah. I haven't done any reps at Cook. I
Yeah.
know it's in the same building, and I know we work with the same products.
Like
but
I'm
it's
not gonna go.
the-
I'm not gonna go be your cook. But they're
Yeah.
like, no, we need a cook. Does that apply?
You're still in the lineup.
does it
We're still gonna pay you.
does that apply here, or is that insane? Because
No, I think that's a pretty good metaphor.
but
Because
it's not the same because he is playing baseball and he is getting paid probably an astronomical life changing amount for most people. When if I say, hey, I need you to go do this thing, and if I would have to look at my bank account and be like, what you need? What can I do for you?
For average people, and this is maybe why neither of us made it into the bigs, because we don't have that the dedication to a position that Mr. Devers has to third base. Yeah, I mean, as the baseball player on the pod, it is a little daunting, especially at the pro level, to be asked to switch positions when you have not shown that flexibility throughout your career.
It like I understand it from like a job aspect of especially when I put it in like the restaurant terms, but also when I look at it from sort of that like ownership, like GM aspect. Like if, hey, you're not my everyday starting guy, and also I need this thing and I'm paying you so much money, why don't do it?
because he's a third baseman. Damn it.
So he is.
Yeah. That was, I think, all of the news out of around the league.
Yeah.
So far. Of course, the rest of the NL West is hot as ever. Arguably, but still best division in baseball, but minus
There's
for one team.
the one anchor on in the whole program.
Yeah.
Diamondbacks aren't bad, but they are to the level of what the other friends are doing.
Yeah. And then what else we had? I think that hockey game is actually already set. We had the Western Conference Game 3, which was our Edmonton Stars game. And that is the first game out in Edmonton, Game 3. We do have a final on that one. And it is a 6-1 win for the Oilers. Some home cooking. In fact, I heard a funny stat. They are like 6 out of 10 for the power play at home in this playoff so far, and then like 1 for 21 on the road.
They're not good numbers. That's the Canadian water. It gives them powers.
Something. But yeah, that is an absolute drubbing. A 2-goal lead in the first for the Oilers. The teams traded goals in the second, and then Edmonton came out with 3 goals in the third to really put this one home. We got 4 points from Mr. Connor McDavid in this one, 2 goals, 2 assists.
Captain Canada coming in.
Zach Hyman put in 2 goals and an assist, and that's pretty much all you needed. Stuart Skinner, only 1 goal allowed on 34 shots. That's a .971 save percentage, and that'll get you pretty far in the playoffs.
Yeah, we don't really see numbers that high.
Not accustomed to it, no. On the other side, it was Jason Robertson who did the scoring for Dallas, assisted by Leon Bichelle and Mikko Rantanen, who had a point.
Putting points up.
Yep. So that is now a 2-1 series lead for Edmonton, with Game 4 still in Edmonton.
Anything is possible. Connor may want it back, but I think, unfortunately, if he does get there, I think I think one of the Chucks are going to be over there, and they love to beat up on some Canadians.
This is potentially the first time in a long time, since maybe the Red Wings Penguins mid 2000s matchups, where we've had the same teams going to the finals in back-to-back years.
It doesn't happen very often. I mean, last time I've seen it in sports was the Cavs and Warriors for like 6 straight or whatever it was. That was ridiculous.
Yeah, the Penguins, Red Wings did it 3 years in a row, and they alternated their cups. It was Penguins, Red Wings, Penguins, and one guy lost all 3 because he jumped teams in the middle.
That poor guy.
Yeah, I forget who it was.
Chose the wrong side.
An early Corey Perry precursor. But yes, so we are getting dangerously close to a Florida and Edmonton rematch, which I agree. I think the Panthers are looking well suited to defend their title.
In the NBA world, the Knicks and Indiana are currently playing, so we'll give you that update next week. But a quick rundown of the WNBA of today. The Atlanta Dream whooped up on the Connecticut Suns, who seemed to be superhuman, at least for that first weekend. 79-55 is the final there. Someone monstered the Suns, so they have to go.
Connecticut's also looking a little rough to start the year. They're having a tough time out the gate.
Yeah, they need to go find their power again. In a shock, Seattle Storm whoop up on the Vegas Aces. 102-82 is this final score. Jewel Lloyd makes her return back to the home she's been in for so long, and did not go very well for her, fortunately.
Oof.
So that's how that one ended up, and then was really the game that I think a lot of people were looking for and watching for. In a low-scoring affair, Phoenix takes the win over Washington 68-62, and the Sparks whoop up on the Chicago, who seemed to be sliding 91-78 is the final in that guy.
Yikes. Yeah, Chicago's going to have to figure something out here soon.
A little bit of a slide. It's a problem. They need to, again, only the first couple of weeks, so maybe they'll figure something out here, but
because they made some moves, and this is the sort of results that you don't want to see after thinking you've done things to improve your team.
You give it a couple weeks. Let it cook, let it simmer. Maybe we'll see something different. As we know, Chicago played very meh last season, and then towards the end, before Angel got hurt, they were on a much bigger role. So who knows? Maybe they are, as we like to say, a late starter.
Hopefully, yeah, and once their momentum gets going, it won't be stopped. But signs are not good to start the year.
Yes. Which brings us to our very special birthday episode of Sports Trivia on This Week in Sports.
Oh boy.
This one is special because it is our podcast birthday. So, what would be more better than if we did some sports trivia from our own birthdays? Something we should know a little bit about, maybe, perhaps.
Oh boy, okay. I
So-
do know mine pretty good, maybe. Yours I'll be a little less familiar with, but we'll see.
We will see indeed. I got 6 questions here for you, and we will start with your birthday.
It's November 23rd.
In November,
Count it.
November 20th. It is. Great. Plus one.
One on the board.
You put, it's like
Nailed it.
Like on the SAT when you
Put your name in.
correctly.
Yep.
We'll go in order here. In the year 1904, a very big event concluded. What was that event?
1904, November 23rd. What big event? Was that the World Series that year?
It was not.
Was that too early for NFL? It'd be baseball season, but
I expanded this to the whole sports world as a
okay.
little hint, and you may be even a little shocked at this one. In fact,
was it an Olympics?
it was an Olympics. In fact,
Was it a Winter Olympics?
it was not.
So it's a summer game.
It is a Summer Olympics
in November.
It extended all the way to your birthday, November 23rd, 1904. Is the third Summer Olympics ever hosted here in the U.S. in Seattle, or not Seattle, St. Louis.
Okay. Yeah, that's about the same era. They're still doing like world fairs and that type of thing.
Correct. This one was a long one. Continuing on down the road, down our timeline here, in baseball, there's been a lot of different scandals, and of course, potentially in the betting world.
Yep.
Big one happened here in 1943. An owner, William D. Cox, got permanently banned for betting on his own baseball team. Which team was it?
In 1943?
1943.
That would. Does that team still exist?
It does still exist.
Okay. Is it the Cleveland team?
It is not the Cleveland team. It's a team that we are very, very familiar with, in fact. That we may have even spoken about, I don't know, like today, perhaps.
Oh, boy, we just went down the rundown of around the league. We talked about a lot of teams.
We did.
Dodgers?
It is not the Dodgers.
Oh, who else are we very familiar with? Cardinals.
Not in the right color, though. They just visited here, in fact.
Phillies.
It is the Phillies.
Okay.
They are owner. 1943, their owner did get permanently banned for betting on his own team, which in sports very, very frowned upon, as we learned, even if it is betting on your own team.
Yes. I did not know about that. Yeah, 43. That's news to me.
And of course, the one you should perhaps know, in 1988, in fact.
Okay.
November 23rd.
Very important day.
Very important day. The Great One scores his what number goal?
Great One scored goal number 400?
No.
300.
No.
500?
No.
He's about 7 years into his career at this point. Is it 800?
It's not 800.
Am I ever anywhere in the ballpark?
You are close. It was 600 was the number I was looking
Okay,
for.
I bounced all around it.
You bounced all around it. The Great One did score his 600th goal on your very birthday.
That I should have known more. I was in the neighborhood, but yeah, 600 at that point in his career is an insane pace.
That is potentially why he is called the Great One. In fact, 600 at that time. I don't know much about hockey, but that does seem like a lot, especially that's almost close to 100 a year, which is...
I mean, we celebrate when guys hit 100, 200. Not many guys get past 500.
Yeah, I did not know how long he was in his career, but now knowing it's like his 7th, 8th year, that is a lot of goals.
Yeah, he was very good right from the get-go and never stopped, essentially.
Now, moving on to some may say the better day, November 13th, in fact.
Oh, boy.
Very, very long ago, in 1875.
Oh, boy.
Harvard and Yale did something historic on this day in the game of football. What was it?
Was this the lowest scoring football game?
It was not, in fact. It's something not score related, but think about like the regulations of the game.
Hmm. In 1875?
1875.
Was this
It's
the.
something, I will say, it's something very simple, but is very big for the sport.
Sure, sure. It's still earlier than the forward pass, right?
It is.
What would this have been? Not the forward pass. What innovation could have come? Helmets?
Helmets are involved in this.
Interesting. Uh, hmm. Helmets are involved. 1875, Harvard Yale college game. First time ever that helmets are mandatory.
They're not. This is the first time ever on this day in 1875 where our brainiacs realized we should have uniforms for this game.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty.
So,
Yes, groundbreaking to say, let's divvy this up.
this is the first college game that ever wore uniforms was in 1875. Harvard and Yale, the bright men over there decided.
Leave it to the Ivy Leaguers in the wake of the Civil War to be like, you know what'll brighten everyone's mood? A little football.
It's also really confusing. We all wearing the same color. I keep tackling my own guy out here. Very, very helpful.
This is not a game we can do shirts v skins.
No, not ideally, not in the November weather, especially back east.
Yes.
Continuing down the early history line, in 1900, the Baltimore Orioles enter the MLB. Which team was the Baltimore Orioles today?
Which team did that franchise become?
Correct.
Let's see. The original Baltimore franchise from 19, what'd you say, 100?
1900.
Has evolved into not. I'm thinking football now.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Orioles of back then are the now Atlanta Braves.
They are not.
Damn.
They're a team much closer. In fact, in their own division.
Are they Tampa?
They are not Tampa.
Who else is in? I don't even know the divisions out there.
Another team we even spoke about today.
Oh boy. Who else did we talk about? The Cubs?
Nope.
That's National and American League. You got me on this one. I don't
They
think I
are
know.
the New York Yankees now today.
Now I thought that would be impossible, but
It is. I had this.
1900 is just early enough.
The
Yeah.
1900 Baltimore Orioles entered, and they were there for 3 years before they said,
We're moving to New York.
"It sucks here. We're going to New York." Yes.
Okay, that checks out.
And the final question, also baseball related: who was the 1997 NL MVP?
1997. Now this is an interesting one because I was alive and paying attention to baseball pretty good. Was this Chipper Jones?
It is not, but it is another,
Atlanta Brave?
not a Brave, but someone else who is historic, famous, potentially iconic.
97.
And I will say it is his first and only MVP ever.
That. 97 wasn't Larry Walker, was it?
Not Larry Walker. Surprised that he did get an MVP though. Good.
He did in those early days. I'm gonna be circling around this one. Pitcher or
He is a regular player. He's iconic. He even extends to outside the game of baseball, some may say.
was that Ken Griffey?
It is Ken Griffey. Ken Griffey won his first and only MVP that year.
97. Was that still with the Mariners or was he a Red by then?
Nah, he was a Mariner still. He did not become a Red until
2000,
early
I think.
2000s. Yeah. He suffered through the wake of Seattle, unfortunately. The bright spot into the low.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. Did Chipper? Now I'm curious about when or if.
Chipper probably did, but Chipper could have won that year, but it would no, because he's in the NL as well. He does.
I think he was a rookie in 96, so that might be too early in
he
his
does.
career.
I know he does have one for sure.
He was. He won the National League MVP in 1999.
Few years off.
Just a little. Well, I think I went 0 for 6 on that one, other than the SAT filled in my name one.
Hey, we take all the points we can get around here. Like I said, a little strange. Baltimore Orioles are.
No, those are some good tidbits. That's good digging. I learned some new sports trivia.
It sucks for for our birthdays because it really is like the peak of baseball season. Not a whole lot interesting else happens.
But by now, even baseball is finished up by November. Normally, sometimes it might get to yours. I can't remember a time a season has gone in
Yeah, I
close
think
enough to mine.
that is
Because normally
true.
it's October is playoffs for baseball, and then they stretch
Alright.
into a week or two.
R.I.P. Rocktober.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting. Since we're talking about old memorable players, and I just want to throw this little tidbit that I learned in. Do you know what Buster Posey's up to now?
Buster Posey, he's a baseball coach somewhere, I thought.
He is president of baseball operations for the Giants 4 years after being retired.
That makes sense. I mean,
He's like the youngest in the ownership group of the Giants now, but he is part of like the ownership.
he's like one of those like dudes when I think about the Giants, like he was
a 12-year like career guy.
like there's no one else I see in a Giants uniform except for Willie Mays would be the only other one that I would pick as like
Well, from his
big
era
Giant.
when they both started, I'm still a big Tim Lincecum fan, but yeah, he did not have
Yeah,
the lasting franchise impact.
Lincecum had a really good like kind of pitchers, unfortunately, except for
He had a 6-year,
very special ones.
He had a 6-year peak where he was the best, and then another like 3 years where he didn't have it anymore, but he was still trying.
Buster's got rings. Lincecum was throwing to him, so
Yeah, Lincecum he was in there for that 3-ring in 6-year span.
crazy.
Indeed. But yes, that was the only little detour I had. I think that covers all of our sports news for our long Memorial Day weekend here.
It does indeed. And of course, this is our first year around the wagon here. We've done a few different renditions of this podcast now, and who knows what the summer is going to bring to us as we fall ever so close to it just being WNBA.
The schedule's going to get
MLB,
a lot quieter here, yeah.
B schedule. I have some thoughts on the docket to go down and sort of some fat to chew on, and maybe we can discuss more about what's going ever so wrong in the baseball world, because I have questions even from what the things I've seen today and yesterday and the few
That'll be
other
interesting
days.
because I think we originally started the podcast too with you having some bones to pick with the game of baseball.
It's funny how we kind of circle back. Like it's a sport.
Yeah.
It feels like it's a sport I'm forced to watch, but I can't. Like there's so many.
You do
things.
live in a household that consumes a lot of baseball.
It's like I don't WNBA.
Well,
Anyway,
there's a reason we divvied up the workload the way we did on this one.
We did. Anyway, thank you guys for joining along with us. This is our 50th episode of the 52 weeks we've been around. Coming up this week, we got a lot more playoffs and potentially some finishing up of some playoffs. I think in a couple weeks here, we'll be in championship time. So we will have a much shorter docket for that for sure and more baseball stuff to cover.
Yeah, next week we're going to wrap up PWHL for sure. Either Monday or Wednesday, we will have a series or season finale and a championship winner. NHL, we might be into finals time as early as next week, depending on how these series shake out.
Same goes for the NBA. A couple teams just need a couple wins, especially depending on how this game goes today. Thank you guys for joining us. It's been a fun year around, and once again, we may change up some things just to get a feel of some things for what works, get some more listeners in here on the docket. I think next for us as well. If you have not yet followed us on the Spotify that we exclusively post to now,
Ooh.
please do give us a follow, give us a like, give us a rating, share us along with your friends. If you do like us, like to hear our voice, and you don't like the sports so much, I think Nick and I are going to delve into a project that I think we are both very excited about and dive into a little bit of a fictional world which everyone should be able to consume, hopefully, ideally, and you can get to hear more of us and expand our products.
You really have to like listening to my voice because I'm going to be doing a lot of talking on that one.
Thankfully, I don't think any of our...
But maybe I'll be talking like this. Or maybe I'll be talking like this. I'll switch it up a little bit, you know?
Yeah, fiction's fun.
Everyone has to have a character voice, though. That is going to be a rule.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you guys for joining us. We will see you guys next week. Of course, I have been your friendly neighborhood host, Zach, and along with me, I have my hockey consumer and baseball expert, Nick.
Adios, gang.
See ya.
Los pájaros la luna yace